Hi, folks. Hope everybody's okay. Sorry, I'm a bit late, and it's not on the topic that we put today. We put about theology, but I've not been able to study today. I've been not too well today, to be honest. She's Schleer. It's like just a fizzy drink. So, anyhow, today I'll just pottering about, and I went on this show just to listen in, and we ended up having a little debate. So I'd like to just listen to it a little bit and then just tell you some of my thoughts. So I'll just pray. Father, I just pray, bless this video, Lord, in your name and for your glory. Amen. Amen. There's a link here if anybody wants to come on. So there's a link. Yeah, I don't feel too good, to be honest. I wanted to go to London. I don't know if I'll be going. I just don't feel at my best. I didn't feel too good today, to be honest. So there's the link if anybody wants to come on. So I went on this site, and so let's listen in.
Jason,
Yeah,
because I know
let
that
me
you're
just
going
finish.
to go off on a lot of
Jay,
points.
just let Jason finish, and then you can go.
You made the point that it's the message, not the content, because it's like it just there's no evidence there, and I'm giving you a point, just one point. Jesus dying on the cross. There's evidence outside the Bible. Josephus and Tacitus, they are enemies of Christianity. They say he died and was crucified. Then you have Dominic Crossan, who's against what I'm saying. You have Bart Ehrman, who's against what I'm saying. Gert Ludemann, who's an atheist scholar, against what I'm saying. They all say that Jesus dying on the cross is the most well-attested fact in ancient history. So, yes, secondly, just last point is the impossibility to the contrary. You can't know anything without Christianity. Let me explain. How do you know that reality right now is real or not? You don't know.
This is distracting from the point.
No, what I'm saying. No, Jake. What I'm saying is, you're making epistemological claims that you can't back up, and you're not willing to engage in it.
If you let me speak, I will.
Wait a minute. Don't make epistemological claims and then think you've done the deed. You haven't. You've got to engage in that, and you're not engaging, mate.
Jason, first of all, we don't need the ad hominems. That is no way of putting forward an argument. Secondly, yes, Josephus.
So he's doing the ad hominem there. He's a bit snidey, this guy. Very snidey, very crafty.
And Tacitus did write about them, but there's no actual source material from that time that we can verify. The records from Tacitus and Josephus are copies of copies of copies. And as we know, when things are copied, details can change. There is absolutely nothing from the 1st century that exists historically.
Right, can I come back at that? First of all, when we're doing history, you've got to do it as a historian.
I am a historian.
Yeah, as a historian, if you the scholars that I've just told you, they're all skeptical of the Bible, yet they all say that Jesus dying on the cross is one of the most well-attested facts in ancient history. And that is because you have multiple attestation. You have enemy attestation, you have manuscript attestation, we have thousands of manuscripts of the New Testament, and we have Josephus and Tacitus. Wait a minute. And so you're saying that we don't have anything from the 1st century, but these documents are copies of what was happening in the 1st century. And one of the reasons that we know that these documents are from the 1st century is if you take the ossuaries, the people who died in Jerusalem, all their names and of those ossuaries, those graves and whatever you, and you calculate it and you look at the Gospels and you look at Josephus, they match exactly. And what that means is they were written in the time they were said to be written. So like John is telling you where the gates of Jerusalem are, where the pools are. Well, at 70 AD, Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans, and you won't know where anything is. So the Gospels reflect that period of time, and then these other documents, they reflect the birth rate of that time. So there's no way, no scholar of any repute is going to say that we can't know anything about Jesus unless you're like a weird edge scholar like Richard Carrier.
Jason,
Who's
can I just push back there? Because one of the difficulties when you speak with someone who's very passionate about the subject, as I know you are, Jason, I've seen you work before, and I admire the things that you do.
So you see, this guy's very crafty. He's poisoning the well. Oh, he's giving all this information because he's very passionate, poisoning the well.
But one of the things when we're really passionate about something is we tend to get distracted and we tend to go off the point and we tend to give lots and lots of points, which then overwhelm the person you're speaking to and they can't.
No, I'm giving you basic scholarship. You're saying we can't know anything about Jesus in the first century. I'm telling you that's a load of nonsense. I'm telling you that the documents, that the Gospels that were written in the time of after Jesus, in the first century, they are first century documents, and I'm giving you multiple attestation, multiple evidence why that is the case, and why scholars say Jesus died on a cross. You got to engage with that. You didn't engage with the epistemology bit where I talked about the impossibility to contrary. Put that aside. But this guy's not really engaging. All he's saying that I'm doing ad hominem, and I do call him out later. I tell him that he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he's doing a very crafty, snidey ad hominem in the way he's talking to me. So
let you get back to what you were talking about. Now, the point that I was making, you missed what I was saying. What I'm saying is there's no actual physical evidence of anything from the Gospels that exists from the first century.
We acknowledge that, and in terms of we don't have like the first century copy of the Gospel of John full. We acknowledge that, but that doesn't mean it's said that we don't have the first century documents of the Gospel of John. In terms of though they are copies, they can be verified. They are verified through a variety of ways, multiple attestation, multiple manuscripts, etc. Lots of different ways of verifying that a document came from the first century. So I've made it clear to this guy, and the guy is not getting what I'm saying. He's holding on to a hyper-skepticism that only extreme scholars on the edge make. They're not made by mainstream scholars. I'm giving basic scholarly evidence for the historical Jesus, and this guy is saying there's no actual physical first evidence. Well, there is actually. There's archaeology and a lot of things like that. So it's not correct, you know. So we continue.
All we have are copies. There is no way that we can verify that what was copied comes from the first century.
That's nonsense. That is ridiculous, and I call him out on that, and I gave. He's not engaged with the ossuaries, the graves that I said, the multiple attestation, enemy attestation. He doesn't know the basics of historical inquiry when it comes to ancient documents.
It could have been written much, much later. So you can't say that that is actually a fact. For all we know, Josephus and Tacitus themselves might not have existed. Somebody may have just written them as a fiction. There's no way of us proving it either way. We can say exactly.
Again, that's hyperskepticism. The evidence that Josephus existed, that we have his document, there's tons of evidence for that, and there's multiple attestation to that. So he's just talking nonsense.
Same thing about Islam, which was where the Quran was not written down until much, much later. Now, granted that in Christianity it was written down much sooner, but we cannot say for certain that what Josephus and Tacitus said is true. We can believe that it's true, and we might think that having lots of different examples proves that it's true. But what it doesn't prove is that somebody from that time wrote it down at that particular time. That's the point that I'm making.
Yeah,
so as a historian, hang on. So as a historian, what my job would be is to look at the evidence, to look at where that evidence comes from, to verify the existence of this evidence, and to look at what other people have said. And so as a historian, I would not take Josephus and Tacitus as being 100% accurate in what they're saying. I would say that it's very likely that it is accurate, but I could not, as a historian, say, yes, this is an actual fact. Does that make a bit more sense now?
You made the claim that the message is important, but it's not the underlining of the history. And Christianity is rooted in history. And you're talking about doing history. Yeah, if we do it on a secular basis, history, it works on probability. So the history works on probability. What our audience don't realize, if you was on the Richter scale of historical inquiry, you're on the very edge of a kind of extremist historian. Most historians.
Historian.
Wow.
No. There are levels of historians. There are far left historians. There are neo-colonialist historians. But you're on the far edge of skepticism when it comes to history. When it comes to history, when you look at the basic variety of evidences, like the archaeological evidences, like the Gospels talk about where the pools are. We found the pools. The Gospels are claimed to be eyewitnesses, like Luke says he's collecting eyewitness. John is based on eyewitness. Matthew's based on eyewitness. And so when we look at the architecture of Galilee, Jerusalem, we find it fits perfectly with the four Gospels. When we look at the Gnostic Gospels, none of the Gnostic Gospels have any understanding of how Jerusalem is archaeologically. So we know that the Gnostic Gospels are 2nd century, and we know that the Gospels are 1st century. We also have, so you can go, it's on Working Class Patriot channel. You can go and watch the full debate and discussion there. The guy was a bit condescending in the way he talked to me. And he was hyper skeptical about history. If we took his view of history, we wouldn't be able to know anything. And he was contradicting himself. He was saying, yes, Josephus and Tacitus was probably likely. Well, Josephus knew people at the Sanhedrin that crucified Jesus, and Tacitus would have had access to the main archive in Rome where reports were given. So he would have had access to Pilate's report. So it's pretty strong evidence, and it's enemy attestation evidence from Josephus and Tacitus. So anyhow, putting that aside, we're going to go through some of the historical data and evidence for the historical Jesus. But you can go and watch the full discussion on Working Class Hero. So anyhow, let's go through some of the data. You can get this book. I'm reading from this book, Peter J. Williams, Can We Trust the Gospels? So let's get that image up. Can we trust the Gospels? So I'm just showing you, this is the book that I'm reading from, that I'm looking at. Okay. So you can buy the book. So that's the book there. Can We Trust the Gospels? Yeah. All right. That's the book. You want to get the book. Peter Williams there. All right. Okay. So let's just go through some basic things through this book. So Peter Williams, a New Testament scholar, delves into the historical reliability of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. He examines their authenticity. Peter Williams is a prominent biblical scholar and theologian known in expertise in New Testament and early Christianity. As the warden of Tyndale House, Cambridge, he has dedicated his career to vigorous study of biblical text. Williams holds advanced degrees in theology and is an accomplished author, frequently addressing the historical reliability of the New Testament. So this is a scholar that's more than capable of engaging with secular historians on the historical Jesus. Now, there are 8 chapters to this book. What do non-Christian sources say? What are the 4 Gospels? Did the Gospel author know their stuff? Undesigned coincidences? Do we have Jesus' actual words as the text changed? What about contradictions, etc.? The summary of the first chapter. We must examine both Christian texts and non-Christian sources to assess the Gospels trustworthy. Writers like Tacitus, Pliny, Younger, and Josephus. We're going to look at Tacitus, Pliny, Josephus, etc. So, to investigate claims about early Christianity, it's beneficial to reference non-Christian writers such as Cornelius Tacitus, Pliny the Younger, Flavius, and Josephus. Tacitus, a Roman historian, is particularly notable for his reference to Christians in the context of the Great Fire in Rome in 64 AD, stating that the Emperor Nero blamed Christians for the disaster. He reports that Christus, the founder of the name, suffered under Pontius Pilate during Tiberius' reign, which helps establish a time frame for Jesus' execution. Tacitus is generally considered a reliable historian, and his account lends credence to the core Christian claims regarding Jesus' existence and crucifixion. So you got the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, saying Jesus is crucified under Pontius Pilate. And then you got, not long after the Gospels, you got Tacitus, a Roman historian, who's also saying Jesus was crucified under Pontius Pilate. So now you've got like this outside evidence backing up what the four Gospels are saying. So you can't just come with hyperskepticism. There's evidence here, okay? And you've got to deal with that evidence. And I want to ask you a question as a skeptic. Have you really looked at the evidence? Have you really considered it? The gentleman who I was debating there kept saying that it's superstition. Christianity is superstition, but it's based on evidence. Pliny the Younger, letter to Trajan. Pliny the Younger, a governor of Bithynia in Asia Minor, wrote letters around AD 111 that reveal his encounters with Christians, underscoring their rapid growth and the challenges of managing their trials. His detailed inquiries about how to deal with Christians suggest a significant presence in the province. Pliny's correspondence further aligns with details found in the Gospels regarding the early community practice. One of the things that Pliny the Younger mentions in AD 111 is that Christians were worshipping Jesus. Well, hey, that's what the four Gospels say. So again, Pliny the Younger's letter is confirming the four Gospels. Josephus, the Jewish historian, Flavius Josephus' writing provides additional context confirming Jesus' existence and his execution by the Romans. His reference to James, the brother of Jesus, suggests a continuance of Jesus' influence through his early leader, thus providing a historical connection between the Gospels and Jewish historical narrative. So Josephus mentions the Lord's brother, but it also mentions about Jesus being crucified. Some scholars say it's interpolated, some say it's half interpolated, some say it's all Josephus about Jesus being crucified. Even if you took it was an interpolation, it still confirms Jesus was crucified. So there we have Trajan, we have Tacitus, we have Pliny, we have Josephus, we have three sources outside the Bible confirming aspects of the four Gospels. The collective information from these sources aligns with and supports the claims made in the Gospels about Jesus' life, death, and the early Christian movement's rapid expansion. This external corroboration aids in establishing the reliability of the Gospels, challenging the view that they were fabrications or exaggerated stories. In summary, while the Gospels come from authors with specific religious agendas, non-Christian sources reflect significant independent evidence that further affirms the historical validity of the central events in Jesus' life, particularly regarding his crucifixion and the emergence of his followers. So thanks, Anne. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, because you know I battled ill health today, and I've been struggling with, well, to be honest, I've been struggling with depression today, and so I really appreciate and what you just said there. It is an encouragement to me, you know. So we looked at secular sources outside the Bible confirming. So if you're a skeptical mind, so like take Rudolf Bultmann. Rudolf Bultmann was a New Testament scholar who wrote on the life of Jesus and said Jesus was a myth. Okay, and he came up with theories like form criticism, and things like that. Now, one of the things that Bultmann said, he said, look, we can't know really anything about Jesus because this is Chinese whispers. These stories about Jesus were created by the communities over generations, and things got lost in transition and it became a myth, right? And Bultmann said those kind of things because he got a lot of inspiration from Scandinavian scholars. And these early Scandinavian scholars of the late 19th century, early 20th century, they were into studying the Vikings. And because they were into studying the Vikings, they came up with theories about myth. And so Bultmann took this stuff and then applied it to the New Testament. But here's the point. Here is the point. The point is this, is that when you are studying first century Judaism, you've got to study it in its context. It's no good bringing the Vikings in. We're studying the first century Judaism. That's number one. And secondly, you've got to look at the data of the first century and early second century. And what Bultmann didn't do is he didn't take Josephus seriously. He didn't take Tacitus seriously or Pliny. If he would have taken them seriously, he would have realized the four Gospels are first century historical information about the life and death of Jesus Christ. That's my point. Self-wise, also struggling with diverse evil. Yeah. So do you get the point? The point is that if historians and theologians took Pliny's letter seriously, Tacitus seriously, Josephus seriously, they would say, wait a minute, the four Gospels are mid-first century documents about the life of Jesus. If they were serious about those other secular writings outside the Bible. But what they do, they bring in their theories and they miss the basic evidence that's around. All right, I hope that's plain and simple, whatever. So what are the Gospels? What are the Gospels? The Gospels became widely accepted among early Christians, not due to political force, but as they were recognized for their historical value over time. Evidence from manuscripts and early church leaders suggests that these texts were already held in high regard as a collection by the late 2nd century. The presence of four Gospels is notable, especially when compared to other historical figures like Tiberius. These Gospels, despite being from the periphery of the Roman Empire, provide a remarkable amount of documentation about Jesus in closer chronological proximity that found for Tiberius. The Gospels focus predominantly on Jesus' life, in stark contrast to the more broadly focused histories of Tiberius. Identified authors of the Gospels are claimed to hold distinct backgrounds. Matthew was a tax collector and disciple. That's important because people say Chinese whispers of the Gospels, but Matthew was a tax collector. He had the ability to write, he would have written down information. Mark was Peter's interpreter. Luke was a physician who traveled with Paul and John and was one of the 12 apostles. So Luke was in contact with what the early church was thinking. Only Matthew and John are said to be eyewitnesses, with Mark and Luke gathering information. The Gospels differ from modern biographies, particularly in their emphasis on the events surrounding Jesus' death and resurrection. Matthew, Mark, Luke, grouped as synoptic Gospels, share significant similarity in content and structure, while John stands out with a different focus. The reason why scholars call Matthew, Mark, and Luke synoptic Gospels is that is a Western imposition on those Gospels. It is to weaken their authority, because they're saying they all borrowed from me, that they borrowed from Mark. This is a theory, and it's to try and take away the historical authenticity of each Gospel. These are three different Gospels that are giving evidence for the life and death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay, so we have four witnesses, not one witness, but four witnesses. Analysis of textual similarities reveals substantial correlation amongst the synoptic Gospels, suggesting dependency or shared sources. Scholars continue to study these relationships through various hypotheses about their origin and interconnection. Scholars debate it all the time, but at the end of the day, there's information in each of the Gospels that is special to each of the Gospels. Okay. Date composition. While traditional sources suggest the Gospels were written prior to the destruction of Jerusalem AD 70, various scholars propose a range of dates based on linguistic and textual analysis. The Gospels are viewed as products of the first generation of Christians, providing a historical framework consistent with traditional authorship views. Through careful examination of the Gospels' content and historical context, this chapter asserts that the text holds significant value and reliability as testimonies of early Christianity and the life of Jesus. The date the Gospels. Most scholars, John Mack. Yeah, the Q theory. What you want, if anyone talks about the Q theory, just say, can you give me a Q document? When they can't find a Q document. It's just, the reason why the Q theory was invented, it was to take away authority from the three Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke. Oh, they're based on the Q source. So they're not really authoritative anymore. But where's the Q source? There's never been a Q document ever found. It's just a theory. All right, it's just a theory. And the theory was invented to take away authority from Matthew, Mark, and Luke, because Matthew, Mark, and Luke used the Q source. Okay, give me the Q document. Have you got a Q document? It's like the Islamic dilemma. Have you got your Injil? You're saying the Injil's corrupted, so where's your Injil? Oh, we do not know. We do not know. We do not have the Injil. Okay, so you're saying the Q source. Give me a Q source. Give me the Q document. We don't have it. There we are. It's just a theory, bro. All right. All right. I'll give you a little thing. I'll give you something to encourage you here. This will really encourage you. Okay. Let me show you something. One of the greatest scholars in the 20th century was this lady here, Etta Linneman. Etta Linneman was the protege of Rudolf Bultmann. You couldn't get a PhD in the 20th century when Rudolf Bultmann was alive. You couldn't get a PhD unless in your PhD in New Testament studies you reference Rudolf Bultmann's ideas about form criticism and the Q source and all the rest of it. And Etta Linneman, she was a protege of Rudolf Bultmann and was going to take over from Rudolf Bultmann. So she was into all this critical scholarship, the Q source, and all the rest of it. Well, guess what? She was going to be one of the top scholars in the world in the mid-20th century. Rudolf Bultmann was looking to her to take over from him. And she was going to push all Q source and push the form criticism and everything. Guess what? She got born again. And she abandoned it all. And she said, all this stuff, Q source, and all this form criticism, it's all a load of rubbish. And she went to be a Bible teacher in a little Bible college in Africa. That's Etta Linneman. All right. She abandoned all this Q source nonsense. Yeah, so there we are. Let me just get so here's a book. So let me just let me just get this for you. So you can get this book. It will bless you. You can get this book here. So here's one of her books. Historical Criticism of the Bible, Methodology or Ideology. Etta Linneman. Historical Criticism of the Bible, Methodology or Ideology. So she goes into all this Q source and form criticism. I think you can get it at the MetTap bookshop. You can get it on Amazon. She's written a couple of books you can get in English. So if you wanted to study it a little bit, this is a great book to get hold of by Etta Linneman. Like I said, she was one of the top scholars in all this Q source and all that. She abandoned it all, became a simple Bible teacher in Africa at a Bible college there. All right. So you can get that. Great book. All right. So in terms of the dates of the Gospels, most scholars put the Gospels after 70 AD. Most scholars say Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John was written after 70 AD. A number of conservative scholars say no, the Gospels were written before 70 AD, Gospel of John late. For myself, I said that the four Gospels were written prior to 70 AD. The reason being is if you read the Gospel of John, he knows where everything is in Jerusalem to a T. He knows all the detail. The same with Matthew, same with Mark, same with Luke, same with John. 70 AD, when Jerusalem was sacked and destroyed, you wouldn't know where anything was. You know, everything was just poleaxed. So yeah, so you know, Mark 60 AD, Matthew a bit later 60 AD, Luke late 60 AD, and then you could say John maybe 80 AD, but I would put him late 60 AD too. Yeah. Some conservative scholars do that, what I've just said. All right. Not a lot say about John. Most scholars say John came after 70 AD. But they are, without a shadow of doubt, 90% of scholarship say the Gospels are first century. Okay. We know that they're first century because the Gnostic Gospels are always quoting the four Gospels. Four Gospels never quote the Gnostic Gospels. The Gnostic Gospels always quote the four Gospels, putting the four Gospels in the first century and the Gnostic Gospels in the second century. There we are. Oh, it's all right, John. No problem. So yeah, there's a link here if anyone wants to come on. So let's continue. Chapter 3, did the gospel authors know their stuff? The key determinant of the gospel's reliability is the author's familiarity with specific historical context they describe. The test of geography. The geographical knowledge in the Gospels is assessed through references to towns, regions, bodies of water, specific locations. Towns. All Gospel writers demonstrate a knowledge of multiple locations in Israel and Palestine. Regions. Each Gospel lists various regions showing a range of geographical awareness. Bodies of water and other places mentioned locations indicate awareness of physical geography. There are some anomalies, but generally speaking. And there is multiple references to geography. So, for example, the gospel said we go down to here or we go up to there, and you look at the map and it's like, yeah, it's correct. It's a hill there and it's going down there. So, like Matthew and Luke, they mention where Jesus is sitting up or down on a hill, and it's correct in the description, you see. So because of this, we see, the Gospels have that authenticity of being written at that time. The Gospels, undesigned coincidences. The Gospels contain unique signs of authenticity known as undesigned coincidence, as articulated by John James Blunt and more recently Lydia McGrew. They are not inerrancies, by the way. These coincidences highlight subtle agreements between the Gospels. Two sisters, Mary and Martha. The Gospel of Luke and John present narratives about the sisters Mary and Martha, highlighting their contrasting personalities. In both accounts, Martha is depicted as active while Mary is contemplative. When Jesus arrives after Lazarus' death, Martha responds proactively, whereas Mary remains seated until she is called. These parallel behavior in different contexts reinforce the authenticity of their character portrayals. Yeah, when you're reading false writing, when you're reading false literature, they're very repetitive. They're not creative. So, like, if you've got two people and one is wanting to rest and be meditative and one is busy, that is in association with real life. But if you're a person who is writing stuff, the Gnostic writers, basically, there's like loads of these Gnostic Gospels, right? And one of the main things that they all have in common is they say we have a secret knowledge that nobody else has. That's one of the main themes of all these Gnostic Gospels. We have a secret knowledge. And unless you know our secret knowledge, you're not going to find out how to be right, okay? So that's number one. The four Gospels don't have this idea of a secret knowledge, right? That's number one. Number two, they have a problem with the problem of evil. And so to try and get around this problem of evil, they come up with all these mythological stories about, it's called the demiurge, and how things got bad. And they're trying to deal with this problem of evil, right? So that's one of their main issues. Number three, they borrow from a variety of sources. So they borrow from ancient Greek philosophy, and they borrow from Eastern religions, and they put that into the Gnostic Gospels. Number four, they are trying to get authority for people to listen, so they will use important names like the Gospel of Peter, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, try to give them kudos, try to give them some kind of authority. Number five, they don't know anything about the historical time of Jesus. So you don't see anything about Jerusalem or what Galilee was like or anything like that. Number six, they are very repetitive. Number seven, they have theological weird stuff like Jesus is a woman in the Gospel of Thomas, or turns into a woman. Another gospel says Jesus, when he was a boy, killed somebody. So these Gnostic Gospels, they're 2nd century, and they quote the four Gospels. Four Gospels never quote the Gnostics. All right? So I hope that helps you with the Gnostic. Yeah, it was counterfeit Christian, pseudo-Christian groups, yeah. Now, we don't have a lot of copies of these Gospels, so they weren't as major as scholars make out. We have thousands of copies of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but we only have a handful of copies of these Gnostic Gospels. Okay, so they're not as significant as scholars make out to be. Now, in Mark and Luke, the brothers James and John are referred to as sons of thunder. Luke records an incident where they wished to call down fire on a Samaritan village. This characterization aligns well and suggests that the gospel writers were providing truthful representation of the disciples' personality and behavior. The feeding of the 5,000. The miracle where Jesus feeds 5,000 plus women and children is reported in all four gospels. Details such as the presence of green grass in Mark and much grass in John complement each other. Mark indicates that Jesus withdrew due to the crowds, while John mentions that Passover was approaching, explaining the large crowds. This interplay of details strengthens the historicity of the event. Coincidence with Josephus. Josephus provides an account of the defeat of Herod Antipas' army, linking it to divine vengeance due to his treatment of John the Baptist. The Gospels clarify the reason for Herod's concern, emphasizing John's public opposition to Herod's marriage to Herodias, thereby providing a more comprehensive understanding when viewed together. The argument from undesigned coincidence becomes more convincing as more examples are examined. Each new explanation of these coincidences adds complexity that becomes less plausible than simple assumption of truthful records. This builds a cumulative case for the reliability of the Gospels. Undesigned coincidences in the Gospels serve to bolster their authenticity by demonstrating a pattern of truthfulness, coherence, and character and consistency across the narratives. Through examining relatable examples like the Sister Mary and Martha, the brothers James and John, and certain miracles, readers can appreciate how these subtle details illustrate the Gospel's reliability. So another example. Yeah, it's true. And yeah, tragic that they give too much kudos to those Gospels, Gnostic Gospels, yeah. So another, like, these are unwitting details that the writers give away, but they don't realize they're giving it away, which confirms their honesty. So, for example, they write about the women see Jesus rising from the dead first, right? Well, that gives authenticity because to what they're saying, because women were not respected in the law courts. So why write in your gospel that it was the women that saw Jesus first? These things kind of give the credibility to the story, you know, to Jesus. Do we have Jesus' actual words? Arguably, we have greater knowledge of what Jesus said than of saying from any other ancient person who did not write a book. Ancient writers often provide limited sources for speeches, such as Thucydides for Pericles or Josephus for Eliezer. However, the Gospels of Jesus offer a unique combination of speeches, sayings, and interactive scenes, allowing for analysis of their authenticity. Jesus' reported activities are primarily located in Galilee and Jerusalem, with mentions of other regions suggesting a broad ministry that can be explored for insights into his words. In ancient writing, the notion of quotations differs from modern understanding due to the absence of quotation marks and strict rules governing citation. Ancient societies had their own conventions for reporting speech, which did not necessitate the same rigid expectation that modern scholars impose. Rabbinic tradition highly valued the memorization of teaching, enhancing the likelihood that Jesus' words were accurately preserved. The gospel presents Jesus as a formal teacher, indicating that disciples would have memorized his sayings. I just want to say a couple of things there. First of all, Matthew was a tax collector, right? He was a tax collector, so he had the ability to write down and what Jesus said, right? So that's number one. Number two, if you read Erdesheim's sketches of what's it called, ancient Judaism, but Erdesheim, sketches of Jewish life. And it's about the first century Judaism. Yeah, I mean, I think Enoch has some kind of Christian influence in that. These other books, yeah, they're not really rooted in there might be information to learn about the times, but they're not sources about the historical Jesus. They're not authentic gospels like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or authentic literature like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or inspired writings, bro. Anyhow, where was I? Yeah, so at the time of Jesus, there were hundreds of synagogues all across Galilee and Jerusalem, and there was provision within the synagogues for poor people to be educated. So the idea that John wouldn't have been educated, it says they were unlearned in Acts, but that means they didn't go to the universities. But it doesn't mean that they weren't educated, because there was provision in the synagogues for poor people to get an education. And also John, fishermen at that time in Galilee, did quite well financially, and they were kind of seen as middle class, not kind of like paupers type people, you know. Luke was a doctor. Obviously, he had the ability to make notes and research. And Mark was able to talk to Peter and get exactly from what Peter was one of the main guys of our Lord Jesus Christ. So, yeah, so that's the basis of the data that would have been written down. It wouldn't have just been haphazard or not written down accurately. The Golden Rule, the simplicity of attributing remarkable teachings such as the Golden Rule directly to Jesus is more plausible than suggesting multiple individuals individuals independently generated such concepts. So the idea that Jesus taught these basic ideas about love your enemies and things, it's more plausible he said that than they invent it. That's what he's saying. Parables. Scholarly estimates suggest more than 40 parables attributed to Jesus in the Gospels. The Jewish genre of parable aligns with the time and cultural context of Jesus' ministry. Parables that are considered masterpieces of composition likely originated from Jesus himself rather than being created later by his followers. So Jesus taught using parables. If it's Chinese whispers, then you're saying these people invented these parables. These parables are so amazing, they could have only come from one person, and that's Jesus. The word Son of Man, Jesus refers to himself as the Son of Man, a title found in all four Gospels, connected theme to the Old Testament. The consistency of this self-designation across various contexts supports its authenticity as originating from Jesus. The differences between John and the Synoptics. The portrayal of Jesus' speech differs in John's Gospel compared to the Synoptics, notably lacking parables and using a distinctive I am statements. However, both draw from a common reservoir of material and suggest they reflect genuine aspects of Jesus' teaching. Has Jesus' teaching been corrupted in translation from the Aramaic? The assumption that Jesus spoke solely in Aramaic is challenged by evidence of Greek influence in the first century Palestine. While translations can pose challenges, the historical context suggests that Jesus likely spoke both languages, especially amongst diverse crowds. Instances of wordplay and targeted communication further reinforce the credibility of the message reported in the Gospels. The convergence of various factors support the assertion that the Gospel provide reliable representations of Jesus' words. These include the nature of the teachings, the genre of the parables, and the pattern of verbal agreement between accounts. The absence of modern quotation convention does not diminish the authenticity of the teaching attributed to Jesus. Yeah, it does. But that's because they're not really interested in looking at the four Gospels and learning what they say. They just want to undermine the authority of the four Gospels by talking about these other books as if they've found some secret knowledge. And it's the conspiracy theory world loves that kind of stuff. I've met quite a lot of young people. They are into conspiracy about the Bible, that it's in the Vatican and it's not been released and it's been changed and all the rest of it. And then when you start to give them a bit of detail, they go, okay. You know, when you do some basic scholarship, these kind of documentaries collapse because they're just based on nothing but conjecture. Has the text changed? As we evaluate the trustworthiness of the Gospels, it is essential to determine if they have been consistently and reliably transmitted. The Gospels, along with biblical Psalms, boast the highest volume of manuscript evidence for antiquity. These texts have undergone significant scrutiny, primarily sourced from regions outside Palestine, such as Egypt and Greece. It is improbable that scribes in these regions altered the authentic Palestinian cultural context of the Gospels. The consensus is the Gospels have been handed down reliably, supported not only by the abundance of manuscripts, but also by the nature of classical text preservation. While instances of poor copying and falsification exist, most scribes, including Christian copyists, approach their work with care, preserving many classical texts. Various languages, including Arabic and Hebrew, also exhibit remarkable textual accuracy over millennia. Rational assumptions imply that the majority of later manuscripts faithfully represented ancient texts. In 1516, Erasmus published a Greek New Testament edition based on only 12th century manuscripts, leading concerns about the potential for text changes. However, the discovery of about 2,000 Greek manuscripts since then has mostly validated the stability of the Gospel text, particularly with significant early manuscripts like Codex Vaticanus and Codex Sinaiticus. I'm not too keen on that kind of scholarship. Prefer Codex Beza myself. Notably, discrepancies between Erasmus' edition and modern translations refer to only a few texts. He mentions Mark 16:9-20, John 7-53 to John 8:11, but these actually are well attested in the ancient manuscripts. They say they're not the oldest, but you have the woman who committed adultery and they want to stone her. You have that in lexicons, in liturgy, Latin manuscripts, etc. Same with Mark. They're well attested. Scholars, they just so theorize, they miss all the abundant evidence for these texts. Okay. I've done multiple videos on the last ending of Mark. Yeah, so if you want to come on, you can come on. Anyone want to come on? So I'll just stop there for a minute if anybody wants to say anything. So, yeah, so let's go to a little bit of this debate with this guy. So we'll continue this debate that I had with this guy. So we listen to it. So I had a debate with this guy. So listen, it's about the historical Jesus, and this guy's some kind of secularist historian. He claims to be a historian, and so I try to educate him on some basic historical methods that he that claims to be some kind of historian doesn't seem to understand. So we find it fits perfectly with the four Gospels. When we look at the Gnostic Gospels, none of the Gnostic Gospels have any understanding of how Jerusalem is archaeologically. So we know that the Gnostic Gospels are 2nd century, and we know that the Gospels are 1st century. We also have a Papyri 57 in Ryland's library, which is a piece of the Gospel of John, which comes from round about 120 AD, which means that the Gospel of John and the other Gospels were written in the 1st century. So you're not. Wait a minute. You're saying because I'm passionate, it implies that I'm not willing to look at other evidence. The fact of the matter is, I've done MA studies at colleges that are against Christianity. I've studied at MA philosophy, so things like that. So don't imply just because I'm passionate that somehow I'm not willing to listen to the other person or see those arguments. But you're hyper skeptical in history, and that's not a good thing.
Hold on a sec, Jason. There's been a number of accusations there that I have to push back on. First of all, I haven't made any assumptions whatsoever. You have made lots of assumptions that are not really necessary or relevant or even true. To call somebody an extremist historian is really quite funny. You don't know what it is that I'm trying to say here at all. You're not listening at all to the point I'm trying to make. So I'll try and do it as an analogy to see if it will help you to understand it. So you just mentioned there about the writings coming from 120 AD. So I'll use that as the example. Now, we're having a conversation right now. We can prove we're having this conversation because it's being recorded. Other people are observing it, so they know we're having this conversation. You'd agree with that, I'm sure. So we can prove that all of this is happening. Okay, let's imagine that somebody in 120 years' time is talking about the conversation we're having now. How many people will that conversation have had to have gone through in retellings to get to that point 120 years later? And how likely is it that what is being told 120 years later reflects the conversation that we're having right now?
So like the Chinese whispers sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, but you can't. The way you're talking, it's obvious to me you don't really understand how historical inquiry or textual criticism goes. You obviously haven't read on that topic.
Jason.
So, for example, let me just finish. Like, for example, Matthew was a tax collector, so he would actually be writing down the notes and the sermons. So there wouldn't be Chinese whispers there. He'd actually have written it down.
But
So
we
just take
don't
Matthew.
have that.
Wait a minute. So if he wrote it down in the document, do you know how much it would have cost for Matthew to write the Gospel of Matthew in our money? It would have cost about £2,000. So that's a big investment in writing that information down. And so they were very meticulous at copying. So that's just one example where you're not correct. So you can listen to that. The guy is talking very condescending to me. It was very difficult to engage with the guy. I think Palestine, we're on about ancient times of that's what the Romans, I think, called that area of that time in the first century, Jerusalem and that area. But we're not talking about the same understanding of the 1960s idea of Palestine or whatever. The Palestine of Hamas and all that rest. It's not the same kind of language. So I had this discussion with the guy, and I'm trying to educate him, and he regards himself as some kind of historian, but he's so hyper skeptical about historical inquiry that I had to try and educate him, but it was difficult because he kept saying, "You're not understanding the point, Jason, what I'm saying." And I'm thinking, yeah, you're not getting the point what I'm saying, mate. You're talking a lot of nonsense. Oh dear. Dear, right. Let's continue to what about the contradictions? All right. What about the contradictions in the Gospels, so-called? The chapter addresses common allegations of contradictions among the Gospels. Yeah, just to say, we're looking at this book. Can we trust the Gospels? Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Hi to everybody, those who've just jumped on new. Forgive me if I've not said hello. I'm just trying to focus on this. Can we trust the Gospels? Can we trust the Gospels? Here we are. Let's see. So this is the book that we're looking at. So you can go and buy the book. That's the book there. Can We Trust the Gospels by Peter J. Williams. So all this video that we're doing is based on this book. So you can go and buy this book and read it. And it's a really good book to buy and give your family, friends. It's very easy reading, very simple. But I mean, if I had the chap's address, I would buy him a copy and I would send it to him. But I found him very condescending in the way he talked to me, as if I was some kind of child. Well, Jason, yes, but you don't understand what I've said. You don't understand what I've said, Jason. You don't quite get what I've said. I do get what you said, but you're not getting what I'm saying. But never mind. Anyhow, that's the book that we're looking at. So get yourself a copy. It'll be a nice read for you for Christmas. Or get some of your family members a copy, and it's a really simple read, and it's a very helpful book by a scholar that I really respect, Peter J. Williams. I don't agree with everything he says, but he is top of the game when it comes to scholarship. You have to give him that. He is top of the game, although I don't agree with everything he says. So there we are. So dealing with contradictions. Several examples illustrate John's use of contradictions to provoke deeper reflection on the meaning within the text. God's love for the world contrasts with the instruction to not love the world, John 3:16 and 1 John 2:15. God's love for the world contrasts with the instruction to not love the world, John 3:16 and 1 John 2:15. All right. Instances of belief in Jesus' signs as opposed with disbelief, John chapter 2, verse 23, John chapter 12, verse 37. Whether knowledge of Jesus comes from familiarity or ignorance, John chapter 7, verse 28, and John 8:14. Contrary assessments of self-witnessing, John 5:31, John 8:14. Jesus' role in judgment varies, John 8:15 to John 8:16. Statements about Jesus' mission regarding judgment, John 12:47, John 3:17, and John 9:39. The deliberate nature of these contradictions encourage readers to understand deeper meanings and consider paradoxes in their interpretation. In other words, John knows that these are conflicting, but he's put them there so that you go deeper. All right. So if you go deeper, they are not really contradictions. Skeptic Bart Ehrman's observations about perceived contradictions highlight potential understanding of narrative structure and that layered nature of Jesus' teachings. John's ability to present dual meanings serves to illustrate complex truth rather than denote error. So when Bart Ehrman or secular scholars say, oh, there's a contradiction here, they're failing to find the underlying layers of complexity and depth of the text and the nuance of the text. The credibility of the Gospels can also be gauged by the historical, by the geographical and contextual knowledge. A survey of the towns and regions and bodies of water mentioned throughout the Gospels supports the notion that the authors were familiar with the historical locations they described, indicating authenticity. There is so much detail in the four Gospels that if you come to so-called contradiction, as if these writers don't know what they're talking about, it's ridiculous because they are so detailed in everything and correct in everything. To doubt that they don't know what they're talking about on some topic because you perceive some kind of contradiction is not giving them the respect that they deserve. Geographical knowledge among gospel writers, a comparative analysis of the gospel reveals that all writers demonstrate a robust knowledge of contemporary geography, showing awareness of various towns, regions, and bodies of water relevant to the narrative. Names, patterns, and authenticity. The usage of commonly known Palestinian Jewish names further supports the Gospel's authenticity. Scholars have documented naming patterns that correspond with historical data, illustrating the author's familiarity with these localities. So let me just explain what he meant by there. If I'm writing a biography of the king of Arabia at the moment, so let's take the king of Qatar, and I'm writing a biography of the king of Qatar, and I say this guy went into his office, his name was Elvis, and this guy went into his office and he was called Elvis John, and this guy went into his office and he was called Elvis McNugget, right? You think, wait a minute, the writer is writing about the king of Qatar and he's talking about this Elvis guy and this Elvis guy. It's obvious that I don't know what I'm talking about. It's obvious that I don't know anything about the historical time frame of a king of Qatar. Now, if I write this about the king of Qatar, that his sister is called Aisha, that his brother is called Muhammad. And then 100 years later, I do some research and I find thousands of, and a lot of his staff are called Muhammad, right? He's got about 8 or 9 staff, Muhammad. His sister's called Aisha, and then he's got cousins that are called Aisha. So 100 years later, we dig up the graves of all the people of that time. And we find that the names are, many of them are Muhammad, many of them are Aisha. So when I look at the biography of the king of Qatar, and it mentions Aisha and it mentions Muhammad, all these different people, I'm thinking this guy knew what he's talking about, because the exact names that he's mentioning in terms of population percentage, those names are in the graves. And that is what happened with the study in Jerusalem. We have thousands, literally thousands of funeral boxes, ossuaries with the names on. And guess what? They perfectly match the 4 Gospels in population size of what the names would have been mentioned. I know that's a complex argument, but it's a very powerful argument to show you the 4 Gospels knew what they were talking about. All right? You have to get the book. He explains it more simple. That was deep, but you'll get there eventually. Who would invent the crucifixion? Why would you invent the crucifixion? Why would you say that Peter denied his Lord 3 times? Why would you write that? Some would say miracles don't happen. Well, that is a presupposition. The resurrection of Jesus is central to the reliability of the Gospels. 2 widely accepted historical facts support the resurrection narrative. Jesus was buried and the tomb was empty. Reports of Jesus' appearance varied widely, indicating a strong belief in his resurrection among a diverse group. Belief in miracles is affected by prior conviction regarding the universe of nature. Skeptics and believers hold differing views on what constitutes extraordinary claims, complicating discussion about miracles. Biblical miracles are presented not as random occurrences, but as signs linked to divine action. The depiction of Jesus in the Gospels can provide coherence in understanding the historical phenomenon. The narrative aligns with Jewish tradition, offering an explanation of the events surrounding Jesus' life. This chapter argues for the reliability of the Gospel accounts based on the origin and corroborative evidence. The unique presentation in John's Gospel alongside the synoptics suggests a greater structure to the reports rather than fictitious creation. So some quotes from his book. Here's a quote from the book. Christians were the most enthusiastic about Christianity and naturally wrote more about it. The 4 Gospels were, of course, written by advocates of belief in Jesus as the promised deliverer. They may therefore be said to be biased in the sense that they are not impartial records, but ones aiming to foster belief in Jesus Christ. However, their bias does not mean we should distrust their record. An innocent man accused of a crime may have a deep interest in proving his innocence, but this bias is not a reason to dismiss evidence he produces. We may therefore conclude from Tacitus that Christianity spread far and fast, and that being a Christian could be very difficult. Many persons of all ages and ranks and both sexes are being and will be called to trial, for this contagious superstition is not confined only to the cities, but also spread through the villages and rural districts. The question should be raised, how we know Tacitus actually wrote this. Is not possible that the work of this pagan writer was tampered by later Christian scribes. The mere existence of many Christians does not for one moment have to mean that their beliefs were true. False belief can spread fast. It is natural to assume that the first 30 years or so of Christianity, more than one sincere member of the family of Jesus held a key role in the early church. The simplest explanation is that the gospel authors were able to give an authentic pattern of the names in their narratives because they were reliably reported. So a few things on those quotations. It is extraordinary that it did spread fast, but the persecution that they experienced shows you it was extraordinary. They were being massacred. They were massacred by Nero, and yet Christianity spread. That is a miracle. Okay. So I'll just put that in there. I didn't agree fully with Mr. Williams there. Also, the issue of bias. Everybody's biased in history. Everybody who writes history is biased. There's no complete objective historian. There are historians that wrote about, Jewish historians that wrote about the murder of Jewish people in the time of Hitler. So you're going to say, oh, I'm not going to read these Jewish historians. They're writing about Jews being slaughtered in the time of Hitler. They're biased. I'm not going to listen to them. No, you still got to look at the data. And it was a historical fact that many Jews were slaughtered by Hitler and his men. So everybody's biased in history. We just got to look at the data and the evidence to see whether that bias is justified or not. But all historians are biased. It doesn't mean we can't find out the historical facts, but it just means that we got to be aware of our bias. All right. The four Gospels were not chosen as a result of political power, but rather they became accepted by early Christians as the best source of information about Jesus' life, without any central authority pressuring others to accept them. The fact of the matter is, there's no major political movement going on there. You've got these Christians, they're being hunted down and persecuted for 300 years, from the time of Jesus right up to Constantine. 300 years of persecution. What political power did they have in those 300 years? Zero. Zero. They were hunted and killed and slaughtered. Okay? So the Gospels were not accepted on a political basis. They were accepted because they were seen as authentic lives of Jesus. All right? There's a link if anybody wants to come on. You want to come on live, you can come on. It is rare to be appreciated that for us to have four Gospels about Jesus is remarkable. That is an abundance of material to have about any individual of that period. We have to realize to have four Gospels of the life of Jesus is an abundance of evidence about the life of Jesus. Yet when we look at other people like Tiberius or other famous people, Augustus, there's not a lot of historical material. And yet, for the life of Jesus, we have these four Gospels. He says, thus by the early 3rd century, evidence from France, southern Egypt, Syria, all shows that the four Gospels were held to be a special collection that belonged together. We have multiple attestation from different countries, France, Syria, Egypt, and all over the place. That's important because what that means is anybody who tried to change the Gospels in France, it could be checked by the Gospels that have been copied in Syria or Egypt or any other place. So that's an important issue. The Gospels are not merely accurate in their geography, they are themselves viable geographical sources. Powerful stuff there, my friend. Someone living in another part of the Roman Empire would not be able to think of Jewish names familiar to him and put them into a story, resulting in a plausible group of names of the Palestinian Jews. I showed you that with the Qatar point. Anyhow, I think we're done. I think we've covered quite a bit of the book, and you can go and get the book, and I hope it will encourage you. So, anybody want to ask any questions? Get hold of the book. We was going to do this tonight. Maybe we'll do it another night. Pray for me. I was down in the depths today with depression today. I was really struggling, and I was hoping to go to London. I might go to London, but I'm just struggling with depression, really, to be honest. I'm being straight with you, really. So I was hoping to go to London. I might go to London tomorrow, depending how I'm feeling, but I'm just struggling. Yeah, we're going to go through this at some point. This is what we're going to go through. Let me see. Yeah, this is the book. We're going to go through these books here. Yeah. I go to Glenbrook Christian Fellowship, my brother. But yeah, I go to church regularly, brother. Church is important. The Bible says, "Neglect not your assembling of yourself." So yeah, I do go to. I've been off the mission field now from Africa, and I've consistently been to church, to a local church. Yeah, so I have a local church. I believe strongly that you have to be attached to a local church. So I do go to church, brother. How is Dorcas getting on? It's difficult, brother. We I can't tell you too much, but we're trying to get her out of Ghana, brother, and it's just that's what's one of the things that's getting me down, But she's okay. Yeah, no, I don't neglect the assembly, and I never neglect. I mean, sometimes, if something happens that you like an emergency, or you're feeling under the weather or something, but generally speaking, I try to go to my local church, So these volumes here, I don't have the fourth copy, but I have the volume 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go through Joel Beake's Reformed Dogmatics at some point. We're going to go through these books, but I'm not up to studying it. Just not up to it at the moment. Yeah, but I think what it is, Han, I've had a lot of battles over the last year and a half, 2 years. We had the Nigerians who wanted to kidnap my wife. We had police assault her. We've had fraudsters steal money off us, fraudsters steal our land. We've gone through the mill, and it takes its toll on you, bro. takes its toll on you. My mind can't take it much, and I'm not finding it easy. You know. Yeah, so I'm hoping that at some point we'll go through these books. So yeah. So watch out, watch your space on that. That's serious theological study, that. But I need to do my homework on that. I need to get to grips with those books, you know. So yeah, so that's the kind of thing me and Dorcas have gone through over the last year and a half. But she's doing okay, John Mac. She's doing okay. All right. So I'm going to go, unless you want to come on. If you want to come on, the opportunity is there. There's the link if anybody wants to come on. I'll give it a minute. I'll just check my phone here. I just passed wind. I didn't want you to hear it. So I put the mic on. I deafened the mic. Thanks, John. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you, brother. Means a lot. I'll pray for you too, Han. Let's see what's happening here on the old phone, dog and bone. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, brother. It's a good point. I think Spurgeon closing down speaks more than anything about how our nation's heritage has been squandered. Yeah, totally agree, brother. Pray that Amazon put my books back up, because if that happened, it would help a great deal. I get my royalties, and then I can go and visit my wife and do stuff I need to do, you know. I've got a wow. That's amazing. Witch doctor cursing me for 2 years. Wow. Cover yourself in the blood in your family, bro. That's crazy, man. We pray against it. Lord, we pray for our brothers today, whatever they're going through. We just pray that you comfort them and sisters. Comfort them and just help them, Lord, and help them through their difficulties, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Here's a promise for you guys. Here's a promise for you to take against the witch doctor and against whenever you're feeling down. Isaiah 41:10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. I will help thee. I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Isaiah 41:10. Use it to fight. God bless you. All right, folks. Schlur 0, a red grape. I've drank 4 of these today. Schlur 0, red grape. If you get a full bottle of this, I'll just drink it because it's so good. It's so fizzy and delicious. It's gone. Right. You're welcome, Han. Has anybody got any questions? Have you got any questions? I'll stay for a few minutes. If anybody's got any questions about the topic in hand that we did, or should we listen to a little bit more of that debate with that guy? Let's see. Let's get him a bit. La da 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 da. So let's see. So here we are. Continue. Wait a minute. So if he wrote it down in a document, do you know how much it would have cost for Matthew to write the Gospel of Matthew in our money? It would have cost about £2,000. So that's a big investment in writing that information down. And so they were very meticulous at copying. So that's just one example where you're not correct.
Jason,
Sorry, boys, I've got to go because I've got work. So I'll speak to you another day.
See you later, Paul.
I'll tell you what, one of my favorite songs. I don't know if I can remember. See if I can get I'll sing a couple of my songs. Love divine, all love excelling, joy of heaven to earth come down. Fix in us thy humble dwelling, all thy faithful mercies crown. Jesus, thou art all compassion, pure, unbounded love thou art. Visit us with thy salvation, enter every trembling heart. Breath of breath, thy loving spirit into every troubled breast. Let us all in thee inherit, let us find thy promised rest. Take away our love of sinning, Alpha and Omega be, end of faith as its beginning, set our hearts at liberty. Come, Almighty, to deliver, let us all thy grace receive, suddenly and never. Sorry, get it wrong. Sorry, guys. It's the best I could do. Here's one. This is one of my favorites, this. This is one of my favorites. All people that on earth do dwell, sing to the Lord with cheerful voice. Him serve with fear, his praise foretell. Come ye before him and rejoice. The Lord, you know, is God indeed. without already did us make. We are his folk, he doth us feed, and for his sheep he doth us take. Oh, enter then his gates with praise, approach him joy his courts unto. Praise Lord and bless his name always, for it is seemly so to do. For why the Lord our God is good, his mercy is forever sure, his truth at all times firmly stood, and shall from age to age endure. Amen. All people that on earth do dwell. Rock of ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from thy wounded side which flowed be of sin the double cure. Save from wrath and make me pure. Not the labors of my hands can fulfill thy law's demands. Could my zeal no respite know? Could my tears forever flow? All for sin could not atone. Thou must save, and thou alone. Nothing in my hand I bring, simply to the cross I cling. Naked come to thee for dress, helpless look to thee for grace. Fall I to thy fountain fly, wash me, Saviour, or I die. While I draw this fleeting breath, when my eyes shall close in death, when I soar to worlds unknown, see thee on thy judgment throne. Rock of ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. Hi Gav, how you doing, buddy?
Hey Jason, what are you up to?
I just done a little thing on the historical Jesus, bro. Looking at can we trust the Gospels? How you doing, mate? How was Manchester today?
Well, sorry?
How was Manchester today?
I didn't go out today because you said to me last night like you weren't planning on going out.
Oh, right. I thought you was out somewhere. You said you was in some coffee place.
No, like I was in like a coffee place. I think it was yesterday. Today I was in a coffee place as well.
Oh, right, yesterday. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yesterday I was out today as well. With parents, so.
Okay, okay.
So you've been doing like some study on the Gospels?
Yeah, I've just been doing. Have you heard of Peter Williams? It was "Can We Trust the Gospels?" And
yeah, I had that book. I think I gave it to you, didn't I? Or Mike?
Yeah, it was cracking. It's a cracking book, mate. Yeah, so just did that, and we'll have to meet up sometime, bro, and have some dinner together, you know.
Are you going Speaker's Corner on Sunday?
Well, I was hoping to, bro, but I don't know if I've got a ticket, but I don't know. I've been struggling today getting down, you know, so I don't know if I'm going to be up for it, because I was hoping to use today for preparation, you know, but I haven't been able to prepare much, really. So.
Well, have you asked Michael if he's free?
No, I just wanted to go down on my own, bro, because I was going. I booked the ticket for Saturday afternoon. You know what I mean? I just wanted to go down and just be quiet. Anyway, I wouldn't spend all the day there. I was just going to just have some time to go off and just have a walk around the city, you know, and just chill out.
I see you weren't planning on going to Hyde Park, or was it just going to like London?
Yeah, no, I got to Hyde Park, got to Speaker's Corner, but I weren't going to spend all the time there. I was going to maybe just have a walk round and chill out, you know.
Oh, you mean like East Hyde Park as well?
Yeah, just chill out and just have a reflect upon life and things, you know. So you okay, guys? You okay, mate? Thanks for all the things that you gave me. You gave me so many good books. I really appreciate all the stuff that you gave me.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sending stuff to like your Facebook and your WhatsApp as well.
Yeah, that's good. But also, like, the Bible that you gave me. I love this Bible that you gave me, mate. I love it. Absolutely love it, mate. And the other stuff you've given me, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you like 2 Bibles, didn't I, as well?
Yeah, so we'll have to go out for dinner sometime, you know. Spend some time together, mate. I feel I've neglected you.
Have you still been doing some training with Lewis as well?
No, I haven't seen him for a while, bro. He phoned me up a few days ago, so he's okay. But no, I haven't studied with him for a bit. I haven't been out with anybody apart from I went to Oldham a week and a half ago, you know. So I've not been out with anybody at the moment, you know. I think Joe Kirby's having 10 days rest. I don't know what Kieran's doing. I think he might be out tomorrow.
I've not heard from Kieran for nearly a month or something like that.
Yeah. I've not been out for the last. I haven't seen him for quite a while now. 2 weeks now, I think.
Yeah, I miss those streams that you used to do with Michael every Tuesday or Wednesday. You know, like during the week, like when you had one at least a week with Mike. I missed those times. They were quite good.
What's happening to Mike? Do you know what's happening to Mike?
I don't know. I mean, I think he said to me he's getting an electric bike as well. So I think he wants to go out on that sometime, because I don't know if he's got a car or not yet since he had that accident.
Oh, right. Yes. I've been focusing on the streams, not as much on. Well, I've done a little bit of apologetics, but I've been focused doing teaching, Bible teaching, you know, back to basics and things like that. I've done 1 or 2 streams on. I did one on God.
I've been teaching a couple of people in my area, like a couple of girls, like 16 and 18. Like, so I've been trying to get them, like, you know, reading the Bible as well, which is quite good. I've been doing that, and I think there's somebody in America I was also doing a study with, and you know, tonight I was doing like a Bible quiz with a few people as well from Canada and America, which is quite good. They're doing like a Bible quiz, you know, answering just like just questions. It's quite fun, yeah, you know, just things like that in general. And I've not been out doing evangelism recently either. So I think somebody else did tomorrow. So if it's nice, I might go out tomorrow locally.
Oh, locally, yeah.
Yes, because I think I'm seeing some like younger preachers out now as well. That's quite good.
Yeah. What's the weather forecast tomorrow? Any idea?
I don't know, but sometimes I just wait to see if it's like wet or dull or not. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
It's been going dark early now as well.
Yeah.
I've not been in Manchester much since summer, so I need to get back out there again.
Yeah, it's a nice day in Manchester. I think the weather's going to be okay tomorrow.
How long are you going to be in England for, Joe?
Don't know, bro. I don't know, mate. I could be gone in the next 4 weeks. I don't know, brother. That's why I'm getting down, because I'm just tired. I just don't know, mate. So with the Lord, brother. I'm just seeing what London weather is Sunday.
Yeah, you know, when you've been doing some reliability on the Gospels, like which part of is it to do with like atheists and Muslims when you've been doing the reliability?
I went on Waycross Hero is a kind of right-wing guy, and went on his channel, and there was a guy there who was claimed to be some kind of historian, and he started challenging Christianity. So we had a bit of a debate there. So I just played clips here. So he's basically saying there's no sources, information about Jesus from the first century, and so this whole stream was counteracting that main point.
It's actually funny, really, Jay, because all year I've been doing like a lot of research on the latest excavations around the Middle East and Israel and Egypt and things like that, and Italy and Greece. Like to do with the Bible. It's quite good because they're always finding stuff. Like bits of references that you can find in the Old and New Testament as well. And I actually found out about during the summer, somebody in Egypt stolen a bracelet you could find in Kings when to do with time of King Solomon, when I think he married somebody in Pharaoh's family, and apparently this jeweler he actually melted down a 3,000-year-old bracelet.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's found in Kings, he melted it down, and I don't know if it was stolen or not, and so it was melted down with all the rest of the jewellery.
Wow, that's amazing, mate.
Yeah, so I've also noticed that Nazam sometimes goes on the profess channel still talking about the Gospel of Mark.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know why they go on there, because they're always like saying things about the Gospels, and I think they just keep finding more reasons to not accept them.
Yeah. Wow, crazy, mate. Anyhow, I'm going to get to the toilet in a minute, brother, so I'm going to go. But it's nice to talk to you, Gareth, and I hope we can meet up maybe next week or something, just have a coffee together and just touch base, see how you're doing.
Yeah.
I always just to let you know, I always go into Manchester always like once a week with there's a friend of mine, he's got cancer. So I think I'll either be going to see him on Tuesday morning. We meet up in the food court.
Oh yeah, is it in the end now?
Yeah, but not the main one. At the back where the market is, indoor market is, where they sell the fish.
Oh yeah. Like where we went before with Lewis.
Yeah. I meet him there once a week, just to encourage him. So I'll be there maybe Tuesday or it might be Thursday or Friday. I think he said Tuesday. So
I think it's where you and me and Lewis had a chat before, wasn't it, when you was talking to that guy?
Yeah. So if you're interested, we could meet up sometime and you can get a nice Chinese for a few quid there. So yeah. So
it depends on what day you're free. I mean, I think on Tuesdays sometimes I'm with my mum, but during the week you have to let me know, because
I can fit it in, because it's about time we met up. I need to meet up because you've done a lot for me, mate, and I need to show appreciation. You've given me a lot.
Have you sorted anything out with Kieran at all?
Yeah. Not to mention it here, but just to let you know that he's put it on the back burner till Christmas, so that's good. So he's rethinking it. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, you can always ring me about it,
Yeah. But
are you still looking for any more? Are you looking for any more any more material, Jason, on certain topics?
Material? Well, I've got this thing.
Say, are you struggling with certain topics at the moment? Because I'm always researching pretty much every day. I'm always doing something.
I've got this that you gave me. This is so full of stuff. I've not even looked at a percentage of it, but you've got how many books are on there? Hundreds of books. That
Probably
you've
over
got on there.
2,000. But I've still, you know what, Jay? Like when I give you that, it wasn't finished, so I still got more.
Right. So this has been amazing. I mean, I've got tons of stuff here. I've also downloaded like loads of stuff myself on my computer. So there's so many books I want to read, but you know, I need an office. Like I had an office in Ghana. I need an office. So it's difficult at the moment because I don't know where I'm going to be based. But when I've got a proper office and I can focus and I can relax and study, but at the moment, because I've not got an office, I'm getting down and discouraged, you know, because I don't know.
You know what, Jay? My bedroom is very similar to yours. Like, you know, like my bedroom. Like, I think you saw my bedroom once. Didn't you? I mean, it's a bit different since, but I feel like I sleep in an office. I feel like I sleep in a bit like you. But I think you had like a bed in there once, didn't you?
Yeah, there's a bed here. There's a bed on this side, but my bedroom's in that room. It's over here. Is it? Yeah, no. Yeah, no, it's over there. It's in this side. There's a bed here, though. You know, Frank and Kadena come in next week, you know.
Are they? Oh, so they're doing some outreach.
Yeah. So they'll be here, I think, Wednesday. They should be here from Holland.
Yeah, Jay. I mean, you'll have to let me know like when they're out in Manchester so I can fit it in. I mean, because I think you might be wanting to go out again, like when you're still at Oldham or in Manchester and things like that.
Yeah. So I'll let you know when they come. I'll let you know what Frank's wanting to do. You know. All right, buddy. I'm gonna go. I want to say to everybody, John, Han, and David Pickwick, and anybody else who's come on. Just God bless you all. Hope what I've shared has been a blessing to you. And Gareth, thank you again, Gareth. I want to just thank you, brother. I don't show my appreciation enough. You really, really, really helped me with a lot of research material that you've given me in the past, and some Bibles and some great books, and I just really appreciate it. And I really feel I've neglected you the last couple of weeks, and I'm sorry.
Why is that? Why do you feel that?
Because we've not been out together. We've not been doing stuff. We're meeting up. So forgive me, you know. But hopefully we'll meet up next week sometime. I'll make an effort to, you know, we can meet up, have some dinner together. That'd be nice to see you. Catch up what you're doing.
Well, are you planning on doing anything like in Manchester at all within the next couple of weeks before Christmas?
Yeah, probably. Hopefully, we'll see. When Frank's here, we'll be going out, so I'll let you know what's happening.
Yeah,
all right, Gareth.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. God bless you, buddy. Love you, man, and everybody out there. And take care, and God bless you. Gareth, thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries,
and God bless you all, and take care. God bless you.